city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Live from Spectrum Community Services Studios in Colorado, USA. This is the Mile High Hockey Lab.
Hello and welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab. My name is Adrian Hernandez. I am here today with Ezra Parter, Jackie K, Brennan Vogt, and Evan Liu, and we are here to talk about the Colorado Avalanche. I apologize that I'm a little bit late. I admit it, I'm a little late, but sometimes technology doesn't quite cooperate the way you need it to. And that's why we're here where we are. Evan, that living room you're sitting in looks absolutely gorgeous. Looks like you moved. Thank you, folks, for tuning in to the Mile High Hockey Lab. This is the 117th edition of this fine program. We have lots to cover today, as plenty has happened since our last episode. Not a lot of winning, though, unfortunately. That hasn't happened since our last episode. So we will recap last week's games against Utah, Carolina, Boston, and New Jersey, as well as look ahead at tonight's game against New Jersey, further into the week against Vegas, San Jose, and Tampa Bay. I've got some other topics I want to touch on, to include a Tristan Nielsen contract, Nazem Kadri potentially being on the market via the Calgary Flames, and of course tonight's Frozen Frenzy, which will start in like 19 minutes, which is all 32 NHL teams will be playing hockey today. Probably something that you folks didn't hear about as much as you should have, in my humble opinion, but here we are, the Mile High Hockey Lab, to inform you that today is Frozen Frenzy Day. All right, let's just get right into it, friends, starting with last week. Jackie, I'm going to start with you because ladies first. Brendan called me out last week and said, hey, dude, ladies first, so you're going to get the first crack at it. You called it last week. You said,
I'm sorry.
I think he froze.
He said, and then cut out.
I mean, I know what he's getting at. If you just want me to,
go ahead,
roll
Jackie.
with it. I said that it was setting up to look like a rematch game. I think Adrian also forgot the Boston game was a rematch. So not only did it happen once, it happened twice.
sure.
That the opposite result happened. So that's just pretty much what I expect. It just seems to happen. As far as the game itself against Utah, I think it's kind of what we expected. The team does legitimately give the Avs a little bit of trouble. It's setting up as an interesting rivalry. We'll see. I think they don't rematch for quite a bit, so we'll see if the teams are kind of in the same spot when they have the rematch. I know in your script you asked, we're going to ask if Utah could be a division contender. I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I do think what they're doing is legit. You see their analytics are good. Their goal differential's good. That's one thing I look at this early in the season in the standings is goal differential, because that easily points you to who is not where they should be in the standings. Mm-hmm. So that's just like an easy without having to deep dive analytics. But we'll see. I think Utah and the issue for a lot of young teams is consistency. And I think they had a decent start last year, and then they got like in a bad losing streak, if I remember correctly. So they've got to avoid something like that and become a little bit more consistent. But I don't see any reason why they won't be in the mix for the division. So we'll see.
Yeah, that is where I don't know what happened there. I'm having a day over here technologically, but that's exactly where I was headed. Jackie, I was curious about really where you saw the Mammoth, and I just recently released an article on the website milehighhockey.com where I talk about how Utah's existence at elevation kind of changes things for both they and the Avalanche, because as we know, the Avs and the Mammoth geographically are close. They're both at elevation, and the NHL likes to make travels very efficient. So when you go to one part of the country, typically they have teams make stops at other teams within that general geographic region. We see it all the time. Well, now that means the stay at elevation is longer. It's not just one night and then you get back to wherever it is you were from or on to the next place. That's definitely not a mile high. But now you are in elevation, at higher elevation, playing for anywhere from 2 to 4 days. So I, like in that article, I predicted that the Avs and the Mammoth will be perennial Central Division seekers, and that they'll become rivals and potential playoff opponents more in the near future than we see. Do you see it that way as well?
Yeah, I definitely see it. The Avs need a good kind of regional rival. I mean, Minnesota, I know that Avs fans don't really want Minnesota to be the rival, but they kind of are. As far as the schedule and the travel thing, I think that it sets up that trifecta where a lot of teams have to go to Vegas, Utah, and Colorado. That's quite a trifecta.
It is.
So yeah, we'll see. I think we always know that what makes a true rivalry is you have to play in the playoffs. So we'll see if they do end up having to play each other in a playoff series, something like that. That's truly what's going to make a rivalry. But yeah, they do need a good regional rival.
Yeah, and if it's a benefit for both teams, at some point and they play in the playoffs, it's a benefit for no one. So that's why I see it could be something that culminates. I mean, the Avs already historically win 60% of their home games, and teams shoot or score 10 to 15% less than they typically do when they visit Colorado. And this is before Utah even was in the equation. So I see that number. Go ahead.
Utah's had a good run at home. Now I know it's a smaller sample size, but I know that some people have mentioned that.
Yeah, they definitely have. I mean, 4 wins right out of the gate are at home. They haven't lost at home yet this season. So that's definitely a factor, something that I think all of us should key on. There's a few games in particular. Go check that article out. If you're a betting person, that might be a really interesting thing to read. But Brendan, let's move on to the next loss, unfortunately, which came in the form of a shootout. And I know you hate those so much. But on top of that, the Avs went 1 for 8 on the advantage. They finally did score on the power play, just barely, when they finally put Nichushkin in on power play 1 in the third period. That power play horse is definitely dead, but are you counting on the law of averages, or are you very, very concerned right now?
A little bit of both, but first off, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, we can.
Okay. New technology myself. I'm down on I-25 by the stadium right now. So
Gotcha. Okay.
Stuck in good old Denver traffic. And so I did notice that during the power play when it was Nichushkin that did bump up to the first unit. If anyone noticed this, I hope that they scored right away. And what has everyone been begging for is for Nichushkin and Landeskog to get bumped up to the first unit. And look what happened. Nichushkin scores right away. The more chances Nichushkin's going to get, the more chances it's like the law of averages, like you said. But Nichushkin needs to be on the ice to score. If you're not going to have him on the ice to score, he can't score. It's just, it drives me nuts. And then I think that when I saw that first goal that Wedgwood allowed on that Carolina game, I knew right away that he was not going to be seeing the puck that night. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to say. It's just, I don't think he was feeling it from the minute they stepped on the ice, but Trent Miner just did a fantastic job. And even my kid, when they switch goalies, he's like, "What is happening?"
Yeah, and we were talking last week about Scott Wedgwood maybe holding on to the net even when Mackenzie Blackwood comes back. I think kind of maybe that ship has sailed. I know he has done a lot of great work, but this floor that we've seen hadn't come into the picture yet this season. And now that it has, I think it's pretty safe to say like this is Mackenzie Blackwood's net as soon as you come back. Which in fact tonight I hear he's the backup and not Trent Miner. So that should mean that he's pretty close to coming back indeed. Evan, I'm going to send this one to you. In that first of a back-to-back, it came against the Bruins at TD Garden this past weekend. And the Bruins had lost 6 straight coming into that game. The Avs looked great in the first frame for most of the first frame. That is until Boston scored, I believe, on their first or second shot on goal, and somehow went into that first intermission with a 2-1 lead, despite the Avs absolutely dominating. McKinnon put it this way. He said, I think we could have put them away early, but just didn't. Is that how you saw it as well?
Sure. I guess I'll preface with this. I did not watch a lick of that game, but reading back and watching what was said and seen, I think that looks about right. That's a team that snapped a losing streak. Meanwhile, the Avalanche are kind of on a skid, and they didn't do the job. And I really liked one of your tweets that you put out, Ado. I don't think it was about the Boston game. It might have been the Carolina game, where at some point finishing is a skill. Like, you have to finish your chances and put the puck in the net. They've done that for the most part, but like, it definitely could have been more, and it could have been something that might not be an issue for the Avalanche, at least on power play, winning games, losing games. If they finish their chances, you'll win games, right? So the Boston game was disappointing. I think it was intriguing that, the first leg of that back-to-back with New Jersey, kind of jumping ahead a little bit, that Trent Miner got that Jersey game, and he didn't get the Boston game because New Jersey's on a hot streak. They, at least previous to Sunday's game, I think they'd won 7 straight games and was like the league's best team going. And meanwhile, Boston was on a skid. So you'd think that maybe Miner would have gotten the nod instead of Wedgwood. Wedgwood, of course, I think he was fine in that Boston game from all things, read and watched, of course.
Well,
but
I was at the Boston game, so maybe I could comment.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I was surprised. If you're gonna, they should have given Miner the start. Now I know it's hindsight, but at the same time, it's a back-to-back. When else would Miner have that kind of momentum? And it bit him. They shot themselves in the foot that game. Like, Boston was so sleepy in the first period. So to that extent, the Avs should have just had like 3 or 4 on them. But their chances were not dangerous. I think at one point the expected goals were the same between the Avs and Boston until maybe like the third period. So they weren't really generating a lot of danger. And then it was just dumb mistakes. Like Boston looked like they were almost ready to pack it in, and then they got the 2 goals in the first period. The one Wedgwood definitely should have had. The other one was I think it was a breakaway or something like that. But the dumbest was that third goal that I think it was the very end of the second period. I mean, that's just inexcusable. So, I mean, I heard all the stuff like, oh, they got goalied, Swayman. I mean, he played well. I think he did, but like, come on. Let's recognize when the Avs do not have their A game and probably not their B game. Could they have done enough to win that game? Absolutely. But it's just kind of one of those games where they're not really into it mentally, and the mistakes show up. And then obviously not getting a power and obviously not getting a power play goal in that game didn't help either. Just kind of the same things. Bad defensive coverage, not scoring on your chances. They didn't have as many chances in that game. No power play goal, and then digging yourself a hole Like if they had only been down 1, I think they would have come back. But it was, those goals that happen right at the end of a period on a really dumb mistake. You're just like, yeah, that's kind of it. So
Yeah,
they
that
kind of
game
deserved
had
that. They
yes.
deserved that loss. I don't want to hear they got goalied. I don't want to hear like, oh, they dominated. They could have easily won, but they kind of deserved that loss. Their only regulation loss, but they deserved it.
Yeah. Well, and that's my whole thing. Like Evan, what you're talking about is my post about the finishing as a skill. That was in reaction, and I know like Mosier's very close to the team. Everyone on the altitude broadcast is like basically a part of the team, and so they're not the best people to rely on for
certainly not
for analysis.
Objective analysis.
Yes, exactly. And Mosier's shtick about getting goalied wears on me so quickly.
Oh, I didn't even know that was his talking point. That's funny.
Because you can't just get goal. I mean, he talked about it on this morning's show on 92.5, their Altitude Sports Radio. And I was in the comments on Twitch, and I called him an excuse machine because that's exactly what he was doing. He was just kind of coming up with, oh, well, I don't know what it is. These goalies just play so great. Well, if it's a common theme that goalies are typically playing really good against the Avalanche and we're quote unquote getting goalied, I'd probably make the argument that it's because the chances that you perceive as dangerous really aren't that dangerous. Not enough traffic. I mean, anytime you're putting up 40 plus shots, but you only score like 2 goals, your chances are pretty not dangerous. And sure, there have been performances where goalies just play out of their gourd. There have been. I think we saw one of those in the Dallas game, to be fair, with Ottinger. Mm-hmm. That game, I will acknowledge and say, yeah, the Avs got goalied. But these other ones, I'm not going to go there, especially not when you go, I think they're at 10% on the power play right now on the season, which is 30th in the NHL. Like, that's a kind of a you problem too, which Ezra, we got a little bit of that as well in the game against New Jersey on Sunday, which they once again lost in overtime. And if you aren't paying attention, they are now winless in overtime and shootout scenarios. And Nathan McKinnon seems to be good at giving the puck away in a very untimely way in overtime as well. But that felt like a pretty good game from the Avalanche, who did find a way to scratch and claw their way back into the game against a really good team. Did you like how they played, but not the outcome?
Yeah, and I mean, the last whole week I've liked how they played, but not the outcome. I mean, there's definitely ups and downs. The Boston game is a down. What Jackie's saying is legit. I agree, but also the overall process from this team is excellent. And you're not going to win every night. That's not like, no matter how well you play, you're not going to win every game. That's the reality of an NHL regular season. But that New Jersey game, I mean, they get down 2-0 real quick. One on a goal that is a rookie goalie, it just happens. And one on a goal that is a defensive breakdown, and you don't have a goalie who's going to bail you out of that necessarily in minor. We already touched on it, but the idea of starting minor against the Devils instead of the Bruins is wild. I really think it's Bednar just deciding that he's not going to start minor unless he has to, and then he had to. And that is frustrating because, I mean, I want to talk about the Devils game, but I have to touch on this really quick. Trent Miner was very good in the preseason, and if he just was given a couple of, like a game early on, and then maybe one more game later on, as 10 games have unfolded, I think you see better results from him and better results from Wedgwood. But that's not the way they chose to use him, and that's disappointing. I thought they clawed back, like you said. They controlled play for the most part. It built on the Carolina game, where it's 2 possession teams that play high pace, and Colorado dominated the puck in both games. They dominated the scoreboard because they're not getting power plays, but they dominated the puck. So to me, I look at this team and I see a team that is doing everything right at even strength. There are mistakes, of course. I don't mean every moment, but in general, everything right at even strength. And if you keep doing that over the long term of the season, you're going to have a lot of success. But they have to figure out the power play because you need that to supplement what they're doing at even strength.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and man, that's a really good point. Like, are we all of the opinion that the Avs probably have at least 2 more wins if they're clipping at like 20%, maybe 15% power play.
Definitely.
I think we can all agree with that. So like for us to be keying on it as fans and as pundits, like that's not wrong because it's really what's keeping the Avalanche from being an absolute wagon. Metrically across the board otherwise, they are an absolute wagon. It's just finishing on the power play right now are like the scourge of the Colorado Avalanche existence. And that definitely needs to change. So we'll see how that goes. I do want to do something real quick before we move on to looking at tonight's game and the next week's game, which is I did a ticket giveaway today for 2 tickets to the Avs game tonight, actually. And I want to give those away now so that people actually have time to get their butts to the arena. So we're going to pull up the infamous ticker wheel.
Is it the wheel?
Yeah, it's the wheel. The wheel is back, baby. That's how you know that so are we. So let me pull that up really quick. Possibly, maybe. All right, there we go. You guys still there? Am I still with you?
Pending.
Still alive? Okay, cool.
I'm dropping in and out, so I'm in a bad spot.
Yeah, you're good, brother. And what I'm going to do, Brennan, is I'll keep you muted until I need you because you have some background noise going in that beautiful car of yours, which is cool. Cool with me, but if you're muted, don't freak out. Let's pull up this.
So great that 2 out of 5 of us are in a car today. It's definitely why. This is not my living room as much as I wish it was. Oh, well.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, let's see here. Let's share this here screen. All right, we are up and running here. Let's get ourselves out of the way. All right, I'm going to spin this thing. This is going to 2 tickets to tonight's game to this winner. It is Doba Yala. Doba Yala, you have 1, 2. I know, right? What a name. To the Colorado Avalanche versus New Jersey Devils tonight. And I will send you those tickets on X. You will get them post haste. And I hope you just have like the craziest, most wonderful time at an Avalanche game ever. Thank you so much to those of you who yourself a follow. That is how you entered. And, you know, let this be your cue to go follow Mile High Hockey because we give away tickets quite a bit during the season. So that's always fun, a nice thing for our followers. Please also head on over to the website, milehighhockey.com. You'll find some written material, including a preview for tonight's game, Jackie, which will once again be your scenario of a quick rematch with the Devils winning the first game and the Avalanche having a chance to exact revenge tonight at home. What do you think, or what do you want to see from the Avalanche that maybe they didn't show in that first matchup that could kind of be the tipping point for them securing a victory tonight?
It's the most obvious answer, a power play goal.
Yes, it is.
I mean, that's the easy answer. I'll give you a little bit more in depth of an answer. I would like to see more from the defense.
Good point.
I think that's sort of an under the radar, maybe a little issue that they have. Like secondary scoring is an issue, but I mean that's nothing new. But it's interesting that Malinsky is second. I mean, obviously Kale has the most points for the defense. But I haven't looked it up, but I don't know if Kale really had that big of the last week. I think he did a lot better in the first couple weeks. But anyway, Malinsky is second on the team in points for the defense, which is good for him. You know who has 1 point?
Devon
Tays. Need more from him.
Yes.
And he just got his 1 point, I think, in the last game. So that's kind of curious, especially since he's on the ice with Makar and usually the top line.
Yeah.
Could be just an anomaly, but I think they need more in general production from the defense. I think that's what really makes this team go and really creates that secondary scoring if they ever get it.
Yeah.
And so I think, I think they've been involved, but they need to convert. They need to produce.
Yeah.
So I would say to beat a good team like New Jersey, a team that's playing well, they need more involvement from the defense in producing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I was going to bring up Taves, but like, it's interesting, like you mentioned, it feels like that because that really has been the Avs' competitive advantage in recent successful years has been the scoring they get from the back end. And obviously that is going to remain the thing as long as Cale Makar's on the roster, but it wasn't just him. Taves was very heavily involved offensively, especially the year the Avs won the Cup. And when the second line is kind of struggling and sputtering along, you don't get that far down the list of who should be scoring. And so, yeah, you're right. We really haven't been talking about the defense and their lack of.
It does kind of go hand in hand. I mean, now you have a second pair of Josh Manson and Brent Burns.
Right.
like, is that the reason why the second line doesn't produce a whole lot, or vice versa? Yeah. I think it does go hand in hand, but it is an issue, I think.
Well, according to Daily Faceoff, and I'm pretty sure this happened in the last game, Landeskog was moved down to the third line, to the third wing, and Olofsson was actually on that second left wing, and that's how Daily Faceoff has it listed tonight going into tonight's contest.
It was a mix of Colton and Olofsson that went up there from time to time. Yeah. And I mean, I think it was fine. I feel like, but
I think it was reported it's Colton, but that was just the observation from Morningscape. We'll see what it really is.
Yeah, my thing is, it's like we talked about, probably the best version of this forward group has Landeskog and maybe even Nelson, like on the third line, and I think we're seeing that. We're seeing that early on this season, I think, and also stylistically, like there's not a lot of creative. To me, there's not a lot of creative attributes to that second line with Landeskog, Nelson, and Nichushkin. Like Nichushkin is a finisher, kind of X-factor guy. I love him with the top line. I know Lehkonen has been great with the top line, but that second line needs someone to facilitate something. Right now, it's three dudes who all want to stand in front of the net.
It's funny that Nichushkin had a pretty good week. If we did the player of the week, my nomination would have been him.
Oh yeah. We got to get back to that.
It's funny, he's on that line, and Nelson hasn't produced an assist since the first game.
Yeah.
So there's just something broken there. Like, I think that there's been a problem with the second line for years. I've talked at length about how I don't think he's a play driver. He's not truly a center, I don't think. And so, I mean, I'm sure things will improve. He will have more than one assist every 10 games. But I do think that we're seeing that some of those concerns about how that second line is actually going to function. We'll see. I think Landeskog did look better on the third line. But will that second line get going? Time will tell.
Remains to be seen. I hope they do. Like, I'm holding out hope for Nelson still. I think he's got the tools. I just think it's just like chemistry lab again. You got to find the right pieces, the right components to this equation, and I think it'll kind of fall into place. It's just a very hard thing to get right. It feels like.
I think it would help.
Nazem Kadri left.
I think it would help if Bednar didn't think that he had Anze Kopitar there in his second line. That is not Brock Nelson. I think he needs to be more realistic. I think this was also the problem with Middlestad. As much as everyone knows I didn't like him, he still brought some things to the table, and it could have worked better. Just Bednar didn't care. And I feel like in some ways this is going to be the same problem. Nelson is a significantly better shooter than Middlestad. He will get his goals. But I still feel like the same thing where, this guy hasn't really ever PK'd in his career. Oh, now he's on the PK. Yeah. Oh, he's out there for defensive face-off. It's like the guy is 34 years old. He's not just going to become a new player. Like, you have to understand what you have and work with it. So I do think it's partly a Bednar problem. Nelson can only do so much.
Yeah, I see him trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Like, I really do see that as well. Instead of just like taking what these guys are and working with that. and I think like there's merit to doing that, because I think a part of what Bednar does really well is the consistency of his system. The thing about it is like not everyone fits into it. So, and that's when he gets into trouble. And I think that that's where we're at right now. Like I said, I'm still kind of holding out hope that it'll work. We're only 10 games in. And I think like totally, I think it's like 20 for Nelson in general since last season. So like we got time. There's still plenty of runway left for Nelson. Ezra, you agree with that?
I completely agree with that, and I said at the beginning of the season we were talking about what our expectations for Brock Nelson are, and everybody was throwing out points numbers, and I said I want him to win his matchups, and he is. He
was
is
so bad analytically for probably like the first 7 games.
The line as a whole. The line as a whole. And actually, all 3 of the top lines are around 60% Corsi, around 60% expected goals, around 60% Fenwick.
He was
they
like
are
under
winning their
50% before like last week. If we had talked about it on the last show, he still would have been under 50%.
Well, he passes the eye test for me too. There's some slowness to that line, which I don't love, and I think switching Landeskog off of it does help with that. I don't expect the shooting percentage the on-ice shooting percentage for that line to stay as low as it is. I think we'll see things turn around, not dramatically, but to the point where we feel like, oh yeah, that's a line that works pretty quickly, because the underlying play still feels good to me. I'm definitely an apologist in general for the Avs, and I know that, but like, but I really, I came into this thinking, if I don't mind what's happening with the second line, I'm good. I don't need to love it, because they're not the guys who are paid to score are on the top line, and it's Nichushkin and it's Brock Nelson to an extent, but I really think Brock Nelson is there to facilitate winning those minutes, and I like what I'm seeing on that front. I would love more scoring. I would absolutely love more scoring, but that partly,
he just hasn't been that guy. Like in his career, he's I think he only had 2 seasons where he was at like 50%. The rest were all sub. Last year was sub. The beginning of this year was sub. So I don't think he's really a defensive driver. I mean, yeah, when the Avs are having these games where they have 60% expected goals, sure, it'll raise all boats, but I don't think he's been that guy where he's the defensive rock on a second line. Bednar thinks
that's
he
not even
is,
what I mean. I don't
really
need him
isn't.
to be Anze Kopitar. He's never going to be that, but he is, I think, being Brock Nelson, which is he's winning his matchups to an extent, and he's not going to score more than 60 points. He's not going to be a guy who you would traditionally say is a $7.5 million player, but in this cap market and in terms of what the team needs him to be, if they win those matchups when his line is on the ice, that's all that really matters. And I do think that's happening, because look, my biggest concern with the second line, unfortunately, is Gabe Landeskog. They've moved him off of it to see if that's going to work. He needs a little more time to get back to the speed of this game, it seems, because his foot speed and his hand speed is just not what it should be. And I'm curious to see how quickly him being on the third line creates better results for the second line. Unfortunately, I love Gabe. I hope it works out. That's right there. I use my boy, but he needs some time to get back up to speed. Unfortunately, it seems.
Doesn't Brock Nelson only have like 1 or 2 seasons at 30 goals plus?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
I think it's 1.
Yeah, because
that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, Brendan, I'm curious how you see it. I mean, I know for a fact you love Landeskog, but I didn't necessarily have this in the script, but I do want to talk about it, because I have noticed in particular that he's on the ice a lot, like has fallen down and is getting up a lot. We also saw him take kind of an awkward hit from Jack Hughes as Hughes fell to the ice. He caught that knee in a very awkward way. Nothing came to the surface with that, but like, I know you're a big Landeskog guy. You were there alongside. We were there side by side for the return in Colorado for the Eagles. Where are you at on his performance so far, and how do you see kind of his struggles? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel for him?
Well, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's just he's a little bit slower than I'd like him to be, but I'm coming back from injuries myself. I've come back from a calf injury. I've come back from a knee injury. I've come back from several lower body injuries, and it's hard, and it makes it rough. It makes it very difficult to get your skating legs back. Yes, he should have them back by now, but after 3 years, it's very hard. And I've come back from a foot injury, and I've never skated the same since. So I'm kind of seeing the same thing with him. Is just I don't think he'll ever be the same. We're gonna get close to the same Gabe Landeskog. We're just never going to get the same Landeskog that we were all familiar with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes
how
a lot
do
of
we really
sense.
know we're getting close? I mean, it's wonderful that he's playing it all. It's wonderful that he's in the lineup. That he's played every game. So I'm not saying that's necessarily a negative. It's just, why should we assume that he's going to be the same guy? I mean,
I think that's the thing.
If he makes the third line better, that's great, because I know that everyone's like them, but the third line plays like 10 minutes. So
is $7 million worth 10 minutes?
Yeah.
If they play a little bit more, if they score, if it's more effective, but they might have a lot of $7 million that's not where it should be, but that's what they have.
It's going to say they might have $14.5 million where they shouldn't. But that's remains to be seen with that second line. Like, think about that right there. Landeskog and Nelson themselves are $14.5 million. And that second line, no offense, man, it's not producing to that clip right now, at least so far. So hopefully we see a turnaround with that. Brennan, I'm going to ask you one more thing. Go ahead.
And when even today, if I recall correctly, I saw during the presser that Bednar was even saying, he's like, yeah, for 10 games, he's right where I want him to be. He only has 2 points, but I'm not expecting the world from him right now after missing 3 years. So, he's not going to be producing at the same clip that he was prior to the injury. Nobody would be at this, with him. So, I think even Bednar's lowered his expectation for him to kind of give him a bar, just an easy bar to clear, and then he'll raise the bar again, and then he'll raise the bar again. It's all about steps when you're coming back from this dramatic of an injury.
Sure. Yeah, and I honestly, like, it's one of those things where you really want it to be like it was. And I think the longer you hold on to like what it was, the more damaging it could be to who he is now. So I hope you're right. Like, I hope Bednar's looking at the situation kind of with a clean slate, because he is a new player. It's a brand new guy. The thing that is unfortunate, though, is, internally, like, Landeskog is going to be unhappy with that. Like, he's the penultimate competitor. So he wants to be on the second line. He wants to be getting second line minutes. So we'll see how that goes about as the season progresses, Brennan. But I will ask you just real quick about the Vegas Golden Knights, who the Avalanche will play as well next week. It'll be the first. Here's your moment, Brennan, by the way. It's our first look at the Vegas Golden Knights in the Mitch Marner era, as he and
Brad Marchand
were the big fish free agents, or among them this offseason. But Mitch Marner for Vegas has 15 points in 14 career games against Colorado, But for Vegas, he's looked really good. He posted -2 against the Avs in those 14 games. What are your keys to defeating the Mitch Marner-led Vegas Golden Knights?
Oh, it's just shutting down the top lines. And, of course, they're down Mark Stone again, who's going to be out on LTIR again. So
I don't think they've spent
they
the
need
money,
to.
I guess is the difference.
Yeah, they can't spend the money
Yeah,
this year, because if they do, they can't. They're going to have to trade someone before the deadline, because they can't. They got to clear it all by playoffs now, according to the rules. So
Yeah, exactly. And they signed that. I'm not gonna use my thoughts on the goalie, but
sure.
we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
But I think they just got to shut down the top six and the top pairing, and they'll be good.
I love it. I love it. Well, B, I'm going to let you get to driving your car safely so that you don't injure yourself. I know you're in Denver traffic. I appreciate you, my friend, for tuning in and joining us in any capacity. And hopefully you're right. Hopefully they can shut down that top line. But you travel safe, okay?
Oh, I'm still here. I can do everything else. So just put me on mute.
Yes, sir. You got it. You got it. All right. Let's move on then to the Sharks, Evan, who will also be next week. They are the San Jose Sharks. They're kind of sputtering out of the gates. Still got Macklin Celebrini. Still got some really young talent that has the potential to kind of steal a game on any given night. What should the Avs focus on? Is it just about not playing with their food?
Pretty much. Yeah. Simple as that. I mean, Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith are good, obviously. So you gotta watch them, but make your life easy. Put them in bed. You gotta do what you gotta do. I hope you don't mind. I do want to go back to the second line conversation because I didn't.
Nope.
I was just kind of sitting here.
Sure.
And I'm glad that we brought up the Landeskog thing because I was going to bring that up and kind of surprise everybody with it. Like, hey, I want to ask this question. How do you feel about XYZ? And throw everybody off. But I'm glad that was addressed, and specifically the Landeskog part, because I'm nervous about that. I'm not nervous about the fact that he doesn't look good. I'm more nervous about the fact that he's not producing, considering what we saw in the playoffs last year. And I think that surprised all of us, right? We were like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know. I don't remember what his total was, but I think it was what, 4 points or something like that in his 5 games. That's pretty damn good. I think I would not have been surprised if he had 2 points in 5 games, like he has 2 points in 10 games to start this year. So I'm a little bit nervous about that part in particular. I don't know if anyone else is, but I don't know. The talk that happened made me feel a little bit better about it, but I'm still just like, I don't know. So
right.
I mean, my answer is I don't think it's just a Landy issue. It's a secondary scoring issue. It's a second line issue. We'll see. Does he spark the third line and vice versa? I don't know. So I think it's too early to know if his production itself is a concern. I think there's too many variables.
And I'll also say he did have a goal taken off the board that absolutely should have counted.
It should have, and also you got to keep in mind that Landy's more than just scoring. He's also, the intimidation factor. Look at what he did to Nikita Zadorov the other day. The twitch. He had him like a trained dog.
Well, I did not see whatever happened. What happened with this?
He did one of these. Yeah, he gave him a little 2 for flinching kind of vibe, and it worked.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Z hit Malinsky pretty bad, and then Landeskog stepped up on him. They didn't fight,
which we all know Zadorov isn't really that much of a fighter.
No, and then he ran the goalie instead, which
exactly.
I just hate all those stupid scrums. Like, it's just so minor league. Just like get on with the game.
Well,
I get it's part of it. It's part of like wearing the opponent down. It takes energy. It takes mental energy, physical energy. But I find it so boring.
I completely agree.
I agree with it as well, and I think like a part of what Landeskog had trained out of him that made him like very, very valuable before the injury was kind of picking and choosing those moments. And I'm not saying that he's been bad at picking and choosing those moments since returning. I'm just saying, like, I don't want that version of him back, because that version of him took untimely penalties that were on the back of pure emotion and frustration, and that doesn't help anybody. I don't care if you're in a scuffle. If the Avs come out and they're short a guy, like, we lost that exchange. It doesn't matter who won the fight. So I'm with you. Like, I'm not so much concerned, like you said, Jackie, not so much concerned with the lack of production for Landeskog, because I agree. I think it's a second line problem, albeit he's a part of that line, or it was to start. I'm more concerned with the physicality side of things, with seeing him labor a lot on the ice. And I know it's a matter of coming back from injury and reestablishing that level of cardio, but I think we were shown kind of the adrenaline rush side of things in the playoffs. And that's it's hard for me to untrain that out of me and as an expectation. So seeing him labor a lot more physically has been concerning to me.
My
I think that's
concern,
more of a. Go ahead, Jackie.
I was just going to say, my concern, I don't remember the exact details, but it was like they had 2 days, it was a couple weeks ago, they had 2 days off, and then he still didn't practice on the third day. And that was like, really, he needs 3 days in a row off? Like, that's a little.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Like, what's really going on? But he's played since then. He played through the back-to-back, but like I've been saying, is they have a lot of back-to-backs. One almost every week. That's going to be something to watch. Will they actually give him a rest day? Which maybe that helps. Maybe Bednar needs to get over it because he doesn't like to rest his trusted veterans. But if that's what's best for Landy, will he do it? That's also something I'm watching for.
For me, it's like a game speed thing more than a physical ability thing. Like in the playoffs, he had the adrenaline and the knowledge that like if we don't win tonight, the season's over. To kind of push his fast twitch muscles and his mental acuity to its best possible ability. And now with the regular season, he's looking ahead at 80 games. He doesn't have the necessarily the muscle memory that you built up over a career, built up as much as it has been because he was gone for 3 years. So it just seems like the game speed isn't his body and mind are not at game speed yet. And I really think they'll get there, and then we'll get a version of the player who's a second and third line tweener rather than this guy who we're seeing right now who just doesn't seem like he has second line. I don't think ability is the right word, but he just doesn't have it in him right now to be a
like
truly
effectiveness.
second line.
Yeah,
agreed. Well, also for the rest thing, Bednar even said that he's going to leave it up to Landy.
I mean, that's fine. Like obviously he needs to do what's best for him. I'm just saying after they had 2 days off and then
I don't know if
practice, that was a little bit like really, but
I don't know if I'm fine with that either. I don't think I am because like sometimes you got to protect somebody from themselves, especially someone like Gabe Landeskog who will just keep playing if nobody tells him not to.
Well, I'd rather than have him sit out one of these back-to-backs.
Yeah, not knowing his what the situation is with the knee or any other medical part of it, it's hard to really speak to it. But it does seem like he spent 3 years rehabbing something, so he clearly knows how to be patient. If he thinks he can go, he probably can. But there needs to be a doctor in the room too, right? So I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't leave it up to just Bednar.
I think that's fair. You can't leave it up to the two hockey guys who are hyper competitive because they're both going to choose to play every single time, which if it's in his best interest not to, that's probably what he should do. Ezra, I'll end with you and I'll end with that Tampa Bay game towards the end of the week. What are the Tampa Bay Lightning? Because, on paper, they seem like a great team. It's just kind of not been there for like really last season and so far this season.
Yeah, the results aren't there for them right now. Goal differential's -4. A lot of it seems like it's not just Vasilevsky. He's been rough, and for the last couple of seasons, he's gone good, bad, good, bad. There's not been that consistency that he had when he was in his 20s, which I think makes sense. He's had a hip replaced. He's had back injuries. He's been through a lot, so it makes sense that he's not as consistent. But I do think there's still so much talent on that roster and so much hockey knowledge on the coaching staff and leadership group there that there's a better team than what they're getting right now in that mix. So they're not a team you can look past any night of the season, even if they don't look like a playoff team in April. I still would be careful playing against them, just as you would 2 or 3 years ago. That said, though, I mean, the way that the Avs are playing and the way that the Lightning are playing right now, that game looks like a prime opportunity for the Avs to come out and say we are still in our Stanley Cup window and you are not. So
Yes, exactly.
that would be fun to see if that's how it goes.
I agree. Yeah, it's just tough. Like they're kind of like, funny enough, almost like the Predators. Like they kind of feel like they should be good, and it's just the results aren't there, as you mentioned. But I have a few other topics. I'm excited for the Aves coming up, but honestly, in the ebb and flow of the recap to the preview, it's really the conversation points that I'm really more keying on rather than the games themselves. And one of those things that I want to talk about just real quick before we get into our bold predictions and stuff is Calgary is shopping Nazem Kadri at just clip of $7 million. We obviously know that has worked before. It would take some finagling and probably a third team in a deal. And this is not a suggestion, but a curiosity. Who in this room, this virtual room, would trade Brock Nelson for Nazem Kadri in the present moment? Evan raises his hand.
Yeah,
I would.
Ezra raises his hand, and Jackie says yes. Brennan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but
so,
that may be, I think it probably for a little bit of all of us, it may be, what's the word I'm looking for?
Nostalgia.
Yes. Thank you, Jackie.
Well, I think also they're very similar players. But we've seen it work with Kadri and we haven't seen it work with Nelson yet. So, I mean, they're both old. They're both coming in with a reputation of being really strong offensively and kind of mediocre defensively, even though the truth is more they're average at both. And I don't know. I mean, it's a trade I'd make in a heartbeat just because I love Nas and that would be more fun to see him play than Brock, but I don't think it's a trade that makes much of a difference.
Sure. I would argue just stylistically and attitude wise, there would be a change.
That too.
But I do agree, like play style capabilities pretty close to the same. I do think Kadri has a better ability to finish in tight, but I think where that's true, Nelson might be just a better shooter in general. But that's just kind of my eye test sort of thing. Jackie, you were about to check in on this conversation.
Yeah, I would say it's not just nostalgia. I think, like Ezra said, we know he works in the system. And I know that he's not just the 89-point guy. Like the year before he had like 30 some points. So the truth is probably in the middle. He's probably like a 60-point guy. But he just fits better. I think having that history, having one together, I think is worth something. Not just nostalgia, but for the team, for the guys. Because I do still think the camaraderie aspect is something they need to build on. I believe Kadri still, including this year, has 4 years left on his contract. So Nelson is starting 1 of 3. So that's going to be interesting because the teams around the league really want a center, and he can play legitimately second line center. But he is an older player. He still has 4 years of term. Is that a good or a bad thing? With the cap going up, $7 million is not as scary, but that's still an investment. So it will be interesting to see if he does get moved, because there's mixed feelings about Nas. He can be inconsistent. I know that. So as far as the Avs are concerned, they'd be taking on more term. Like in this hypothetical situation, if they could just swap them straight up 1 for 1, I do think the Avs would be better with Kadri. But you do have to think about the financial aspect. But then the other thing is, what are the Avs going to do after Nelson? Even assuming that he works enough to stay all 3 years, which that's not a given. What do they do after that? I guess we're not worried about that. I guess by then they're completely crashed and burned. I guess
or they have 2 cups and they're worried about something else, But I also should throw in there just to, and then I want to hear Evan's thoughts. But you can't do this trade because Nelson has a no trade. But
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, just wanted to throw.
I
that
will
in there.
say that I agree with you. I agree with you. But there's one team in particular that I've identified because he identified them first, which is the Minnesota Wild. And that's my wild card. Nice. That worked out well.
Maybe he waved for them because it's where
In
he's
this
from.
trade. Yeah, because I think this will need a third team because the Avs don't have anything to give Calgary. If it were, even if it was Nelson for Kadri, that's a wash, right? So they're gonna, and the whole point of them unloading Kadri is they need prospects or picks. All of the Calgary fans that were unfortunate enough to stumble upon my conversation told me that I was really dumb and that they're gonna get a first rounder for Nazem Kadri at minimum. If that's true, they definitely need to facilitate a third team because I don't know a lot of contenders that'll have that first round pick they're talking about. Evan,
I mean,
curious,
Nelson got a first as a rental. I think it's fair for them to expect to get a first for Kadri with
that's true.
3 years term left.
Yeah, Evan, what do you think?
Yeah, Jackie stole the words right out of my mouth. I think that is suitable for Calgary to get a first rounder for Kadri for sure.
Yeah.
I did completely forget that he does not have that Nelson has a no trade clause. So thanks for ruining that dream, Ezra. Appreciate it. But
hey, you can still dream that he'll waive for Minnesota. Just because you
that's
have
true.
a no trade clause doesn't mean you can't ask.
Yeah,
But
but then the other thing though is then like I have no idea what Minnesota's situation is like, especially with the Kaprizov deal that's going to kick in and how crazy that will be. So I think I've said it before with several other trade prospects, and I'll say it again. It would be fun, but I don't see it happening. And it would make sense for Colorado to do it. You know, there's always the familiarity of bringing a guy who knows the system, and Bednar likes the guys. He's brought in old guys before, all those sorts of things. So it would make sense. I would understand it. I would like it, but I don't think it'll happen, unfortunately. But I also think too, another piece that we're missing about this second line is that you don't have a Burakovsky anymore. He and Kadri were really good together. Obviously Rantanen, of course, but yeah, like I said, I would like it, but I don't foresee it happening for sure.
All right, NHL GM mode, last proposition, and this might be the most ridiculous of them all.
Okay.
In fact, I know for a fact Jackie might just log off altogether when I say this.
Oh no.
But
there's nothing left to get rid of. So
what about Gavin?
Mad?
What about Gavin Brindley?
You want to get rid of him? For what?
Now, in an ideal NHL GM on rookie world, I'm bringing in Kadri and Nelson's going to 3C. And I'm finding a way to do it with other assets. And it may be that third team. Is that at all an option?
You need to worry about the salary cap.
I was going to say, how in the world is that financially going to work?
Yeah. Well, then, yeah. So
you need to get rid of something. You'd have to get rid of something bigger ticket. Yeah.
That has to be Colton, doesn't it?
Or 92. Or it would have to be
true. If you could get Colton to go the other way.
Colton's also got a no trade.
Yeah.
And
so does
less
Landy.
now. It's not full. I think it's like 13 team or something.
All right. I'm completely just off the deep end over here. We're talking about two guys with no trade clauses getting traded. I did find it interesting.
Actually, I do think that if the Avs find themselves any kind of upgrade for the deadline, Colton's going. Because that guy's playing like 10 minutes.
Yeah, he seems unhappy.
And 10 minutes is a nice way of putting he's playing really not good
especially after their little conversation in the preseason about how Colton wasn't really happy about his role, and then the result of that is you play 10 minutes but he's on the second line allegedly for now, but I think the Avs would absolutely ship him out if they can get a trade to work.
A couple hours. We'll find out in a couple hours. We'll have a new entry into that saga and diary. The other thing that's happened in the NHL is they signed Tristan Nielsen. Jackie, do you want to talk about that real quick? I know you did a write-up on it.
Yes, I'll publish it tomorrow.
Okay.
I was waiting for the contract details, which is pretty standard. But he is given a guarantee. It was like 150 this year, 220 something next year. I mean, look, we know that he had a good camp in preseason. It's cool to see a guy get rewarded. He has had an ELC before, so it's not like he's never been on NHL contract, but he hasn't played an NHL game. So I mean, it'll be cool if the Avs give him that. So I'm not gonna say that like it's not a good thing because ultimately it doesn't really matter. But like you already have this guy. His name is Ty Felliber that you signed last year. They just keep kind of like gathering the same guy. Like you called up Gushkin and didn't even give him a game. Ivan still exists, who is, by the way, is now 4th among forwards for the Eagles in scoring. Prishpov, if he ever is alive again. What I'm saying is they have plenty of these guys. What is truly the purpose of signing another one? Is all I'm saying. But at the end of the
they
day,
want
does
the
it matter?
Eagles
No.
to be the most dominant AHL team that ever was. Apparently, that's what it feels like.
Well, other teams have AHLers, and they also have good prospects, is what the other teams have.
Yeah, sure. That's not
I
the
can
goal.
tell you guys that the mood in the room right now is that they can take it, and Tristan is a big part of that because he's bringing in the experience from the Calder Cup last year from eliminating the Eagles in the division final.
They always bring in guys that just won. Like that's nothing new.
Oh yeah, but it's just, and same thing with Matt Phillips the prior year before, who they let go, but because they never called him up either. But and
That
now he's rotting, and then now he's rotting in San Diego. But
so I mean,
don't get me going.
Hey, I mean, anyone possibly getting called up and not Tynan is a good thing. So
sorry, TJ. Hope you didn't watch.
So
probably don't.
You know, if they get up to 50 again because they have to run through everybody, you know, whatever.
Yeah, we'll see. Well,
to me, this is like kind of like you don't you're not stocking up on picks, so you might as well take your 7th round flyer in a different format. And that's this. They're signing a bunch of dudes who they're like, hey, maybe one of these guys hits, and if they hit, great, and if they don't, they play AHL, and that's fine. I have no problem with any of this.
I see it. I can see that.
Yeah. I think I'd like them to kind of think about their investment a little bit more.
I think he's right though. I think he's just like where they can't make picks, they're like, all right, shit, we got to get numbers into the system.
You got to have
somebody. So this is how we're going to do it. Yeah.
Well,
they're not going to have 3
I mean, they just sent Weinstein to Utah. Like, that was the most obvious thing ever. I don't know. It's just, sure, yeah, more bodies, more lotto tickets, whatever. But I mean, getting a replacement level guy in the NHL for a few games. I mean, are you accomplishing anything? Does that mean anything? It's deck chairs. It just doesn't do anything.
Well, I've liked the way that Nielsen's played over the last 7 games. I mean, he's averaging a point per game. He's 3 goals and 4 assists, and he's got that sneaky wrist shot that if he can get into the slot, he's dangerous.
Sure.
And he's been playing top line minutes for the Eagles, so he's getting the eyes of McFarland, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I got a late start today, so let's go to bold predictions and get you guys onto the rest of your life, because I feel like I'm taking all of it right now. So, Evan, we'll recap the ones starting last week. You had 4 power. We have to. You had 4 power play goals in 4 games. Ouch, that one hurts.
I think they had 1, right? 1 total.
Yes, but you also had a Gabe Landeskog goal, and that one almost happened until they called it back on a really wild offside play. And then you said it happened against the Nordiques while they were wearing the Nordiques jersey. We were going to give you a bonus point, so I won't buzz you for that one, but you also got that one wrong. Jackie, you said that Wedgwood would play every game.
Almost.
I believe you are wrong.
Almost.
Yeah. Almost is right. Yeah. Minor played one that we didn't think he'd play. So if you would have made a bold prediction that Minor was going to play against New Jersey, I would have considered that bold, and you'd be getting a ding today.
That would
But
have been insane.
right,
And it
Brennan,
was.
it was insane. Brennan, you had Minor getting a shutout in his first game in the NHL and the AHL, excuse me, and he didn't go down. So
Well,
that
he may be playing tomorrow.
that's right, but you'll be one day too late, you son of a gun.
Wow. Boo you.
Ezra, my man, you did it. You're the ding of the week. You had Nichushkin scoring a power play goal, put him on the board yet again. That gives you 2 points on the year. We will see. You are currently tied for the lead with Jackie. And then lastly, that was me. And I said that Jack Drury would score against Carolina, which he did score the night of our last episode, but that wasn't when they played Carolina. They were playing the Mammoth, and then they lost in overtime. Sad face. Let's run the sponsor. And while I do that, you can think of your bold predictions for this week. Sound like a plan? Sounds like a plan.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I call that bold talk.
All right, this is Bold Predictions brought to you by Brews Ale House Brewing Company in Pueblo, Colorado, where you can find some delicious German-style beers, all made in-house, as well as some delicious food. They have a bakery, desserts, coffee, burgers. It's just a wonderful place to go. And they have specials, drink specials, and food specials during all Colorado Avalanche and Denver Nuggets games. So head on down there if you are interested in having a beer and watching a game, like maybe tonight, if you're a Puebloan. So that is what we'll do in terms of watching the Avalanche. We will go to a brewery and drink beer and do it. But let's get the bold predictions from you all this week, starting with you, Ezra, since you earned a ding.
Yeah, well, it looks like we're going to have 3 games before our next episode, probably. New Jersey, Vegas, and San Jose. And I'm going to say Colorado scores more than 15 goals combined in those 3 games.
Wow.
Whoa, that's 5 a game. Are we saying all 15's happening against San Jose or what?
Wow, average 5. That's a lot.
I think it's like 8 against San Jose, but yeah.
I love it.
I can't wait for that to end 1-0 Avalanche in overtime.
Oh gosh, these ones that they're
willing the
supposed to
offense
win.
into existence.
Yes, I see what you're doing there. I see what you're doing. You did it for Val Nichushkin, and in fact, you basically did it for the Avs by getting him on the first power play unit, which was like, you were like, if he scores on the second power play unit, that'd be crazy. So we're good. I got you down 15 goals in the next 3 games. Evan, you get a bonus point if all 15 do in fact come against the Sharks. Jackie, you go next.
I do think the Avs are going to win tonight. Maybe going back to something I said earlier, to be bold enough to say a defenseman is going to score a goal tonight.
I think so. Can it not be named Cale Makar?
That makes it bold.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like if it doesn't include Cale Makar, then yes. But if it includes Cale Makar, then I would say no.
So do you agree to these terms, Jackie?
Sure, why not? Anybody with Cale Makar. That's what they're going to need to win.
Okay, and if it is Makar, he's got to score 2. How about that?
Or 2 points.
Sure, honestly,
We'll say if it's Makar, he's got to. If the goal is Makar, then he has to at least have an assist. I'll go with that.
Okay. A defenseman not named Makar, unless he also has an assist, will score.
That's what they're
tonight.
going to need to win. Yep.
Okay. Deal. That's a good one. That's like 2 in 1, but not really. I love it. Evan, what do you got for me?
I'll need the group's verdict here if it's not bold enough.
Okay.
Ross Colton 2 points in the next week.
In the next week?
Yeah.
How about 2 points in 2 games?
3. How about 3 points?
3
points
in the 3 games. I guess you don't count Tampa.
Okay.
3
points
in 3 games. Okay.
3 games. I think
Listen,
that's fair.
I need a point. That's why I started with 2 and then I bargained up to 3 because I had to.
I dig it. Brandon, what you got for me?
I've got 2
Okay.
actually. We're gonna say I gave Landeskog goal and assist since he had his goal taken away. Jerks.
In the next 3 games?
Yes, at least one, and one of each, and then I'm gonna go say a Michael Misa goal for the Sharks game.
Michael needs a goal for the Sharks game.
Okay.
Why? How dare you? Okay.
Well, just because a rookie against the Avalanche.
It's got to happen.
Yeah.
That's like a former Av. It's like Matt Duchene playing on the other team. Something's going to happen. All right. So that just leaves my bold prediction for this week. And you know what? It's been too long, Ezra. It's been far too long.
A Mikko Rantanen hat trick.
It's definitely been way too long for that one. No, I'm going a Nathan McKinnon hat trick, which maybe not that bold, probably the most likely of all the forwards to get one, but it's still a hat trick. Am I right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say a hat trick is bold. Yeah, just predicting any hat trick is bold.
Which
I
is
feel
why
like Nate just
I do it
is
every
gonna have
week.
the first hat trick.
I hope you're right. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
Well, I
is
hope you're
funny.
wrong because I got to get my ding. Well, maybe both of them. That'd be awesome.
They both get hat tricks in a 15-0 win at San Jose.
And Landeskog has his goal and his. We're just gonna get all of our
And Colton gets all 3 points then too. Let's go.
Everybody but Brandon wins in that one. No
Yes,
Misa goal.
yeah, that's true. Then it has to be 15-1, I guess. That's what we're doing. All right. Well, those are the bold predictions for this week, folks. Be sure to tune in next week, see how they sort out. There are about 400 of you tuned in live, so thank you very much for watching us before you watch the Avalanche tonight against the New Jersey Devils. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. here in Colorado at Ball Arena. Let's see if the Avalanche can exact some revenge after losing to the Devils. Hey, look who it is. Look at that flow. My God, sir. The bangs.
Man.
Holy
Yeah.
Moses. Handsome.
both
Now I'm not
dude.
driving.
Yeah, just so the listeners know, Brennan just revealed himself to us for the first time all episode, and he looks like a Hanson brother right now, and it is gorgeous. It's a great thing to look at. So, Brennan, look at you. Also got some gray in that beard, man. What's going on?
It's called being 40.
Right on. Let's see. Trey Reyes, thank you for tuning in. Says, I love Ross Colton. Ano says, yeah, but Colton is moving to the second line for now. This must have been when we were discussing trading him.
That's why I made my prediction. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Anthony Pacino, you've been in on the chat. Ryan O'Hara, you've been in as well. Thank you, folks, very much for tuning in. I've got some tickets to send over to some lucky winner. And, folks, if that's everything, on behalf of Ezra Parter, Jackie K, Evan Liu, and Brennan Vogt, my name is Adrian Hernandez. This has been the 117th edition of the Mile High Hockey Lab. Please head on over to milehighhockey.com. Be sure to also head to Hockey Mountain High, where you can find Evan and Brennan's work. And hopefully the Avalanche exact some revenge tonight. Until next time, we love you, Avalanche fans, and go Avs.
Thank you for tuning into the Mile High Hockey Lab.